Hello and welcome to the Bold Leadership Story Show, where we talk about the experiences shaping exceptional lives. And today I am so excited. I've got Mr. Joe Von Grichten, my buddy. He's in the house and we're talking about leadership and all the experiences we've had. We've got some water that's been under that bridge. And I know there's some stories that we're going to share today that may be just the thing you're looking for. Joe comes to the table with tons of experience. He's a entrepreneur, speaker, author, coach. He's an investor. He's got, a beautiful family. He's a husband and father, dad, does a lot of work with his kids. I see him all the time on Facebook. It's just really wonderful to see. I love all that about Joe. He's just really into the community and helping people out and tons of energy and very knowledgeable. So I'm excited to bring him on the show today. Uh, let's see, Joe, let's see. What's the first thing you want to talk about? What's going on in your life right now, man? You've got so much going on. What's the most exciting thing you got happening?
Hold on, I got to take a plate down so I can talk.
Right.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, thank you, Jim, for having me on. This is awesome.
Oh, my pleasure.
I've been watching the episodes, a few episodes here and there, and I love it. And you know, for those of you that don't know, we had a secret relationship a few years back. So Jim and I worked together, and he's so awesome. And so when he asked me to do this, I was so excited to do it for him, and with him. Uh, there's only a certain amount of people you'll meet in your lifetime that you want to hang out with on a regular basis. And Jim's one of those guys, and it's like, no matter if it's been a month, a week, a day, or, a few years, we always pick up right where we left off, just like, good old friends. And those are the kind of people that you want in your life. And that's Jim. So I'm grateful for, like I said, our friendship, and grateful to be on. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. But
So, so what's going on? You've got the latest I've seen that you've got going on that's exciting. I've been sharing it around too. I think it's amazing. I'm going to put your site up here, if that's okay. I've got Redzone Creative Consulting, and you're helping high school athletes realize their dreams of playing at the next level. Talk to us about that. What's that all about?
Yeah, so being a growed up, going through it with a little background first is having played into college, having a quick cup of coffee in college, and playing and going through this process myself with a great family behind me, but not really knowing what the right moves were for us. And so, long story short, I screwed up my recruiting process all on my own. And when I started coaching high school football years ago, when I got done playing, I had the opportunity to help put together, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, coming out of that. And over the years, I've coached a lot of youth sports, and just am passionate about helping our kids become better humans,
Mm-hmm.
setting them up for success and holding them accountable and capable. And so,
Yeah,
um,
athletics is just I was an athlete in high school, and it was so integral and important in the foundation that I've continued to build on. And I don't know if what I'd be doing if I didn't have those sports. I mean, just the activity itself, and then the relationships that I built, and I've kept in touch with a lot of people that I played high school ball with, and it's just so, now that I'm 65, getting on, on the other side of that hill, it's really wonderful to have those relationships and to have that perspective now. And so you're helping young people to establish that. And I just take my hat off, because that's amazing. That's great stuff. What is it exactly that you're helping them to do? How's your service helping them?
a great question. So with our oldest daughter, she's 16 right now, going through the recruiting process, and we had some of her teammates um, starting to go through the process as well. And so I'm helping them, basically all my years of marketing expertise, I'm putting that into helping them put together their marketing collateral. So basically, think of it like if you were applying for a job. You got your resume, your cover letter, and something that sets you apart. So for them, It's their player profile, their cover letter, and their highlight reels. And then I kind of coach them along the way um, until they start getting some responses back from coaches. And then from there, it's just really up to them to put the work in and stay in contact. Because the misconception is that if my kid's a good athlete, they'll get a scholarship. And if they're not a good athlete, they won't. But the reality is both of those statements are false, because one, doesn't matter if your kid's good or not, unless he's like in the top, like half of 1% in the nation, he's not going to get looked at because he's not on the radar. Mm-hmm. Right. So you've got to get on the radar of coaches and recruiters. Secondly, just because you don't think they're the best player, they still might be good enough there's a lot of scholarships out there that get left on the table every year. And so maybe it's not a full scholarship, but hey, every little bit counts these days. Mm-hmm. And so I've made it a passion to create a business around this. Coming out of COVID, I had the Redzone Creative that we originally started together, mm-hmm. and then it evolved a little bit, and COVID had a different plan in mind. So for the last few years, really Redzone Creative was just a sideshow, if you will. Mm-hmm. I did a little referral work here and there. I just wasn't passionate about, to be honest, to rebuild it. But when this opportunity came along, I said, the light clicked on. Oh, wow, this is something I can do. I'm passionate about helping, our youth and their families. Mm-hmm. And so Redzone Creative Consulting was born again, or reborn, and, kind of rebranded a little bit. And
yeah. So what was the process? What went through your mind when you were formulating that decision to take this on? With all of your experience, it's like you probably weighed it against some other things. And what were the risks? What were the upside? What's the purpose element for you behind it, and what's driving you to get it done right now?
So first and foremost, like I said, I'm passionate about helping, families, but let's be honest, coming out of COVID, I, like many other, self-employed entrepreneurs, really struggled finding my way through that. And so my purpose was really to looking for a creative way to provide for my family that still allowed me the flexibility to be present with my family, and, replace income that, was lost during COVID, and at the same time help people. So it was kind of a win-win-win all the way around. And, for me, it was just taking action. I was already doing it. It's kind of like how I started out in business before. I was already doing it. My wife slapped me in the back of the head because she's the MBA, and said, why don't you start your own business? Well, it was kind of the same process, really, to be honest. I just had to get into action on it and start putting things into play. I'm building it a little bit slower than maybe other things I've done in the past. Not quite sure why that is. I think that's just my limiting beliefs between my ears. Just the part of starting a business, as the ups and downs. You got to have thick skin. You've got to wear a smile even when it hurts sometimes, and have the mindset, really, at the end of the day, that can get you through all of that, the good, the bad, the ugly, the roller coaster, if you will, as you build that. So some of these, gut punches that I get, starting this out, I kind of like grimace and like have to remember and recall everything I've learned over the last 20 years, to 15, 20 years to keep persevering and keep pushing forward. But I was watching Michael J. Fox's documentary on Apple TV. Mm-hmm. And, the honest truth is, he was talking about it. He goes, I don't want people to feel bad for me. And like one of the next statements out of his mouth was, I'm a tough son of a bitch. So excuse my language, but really at the end of the day, that's what it is for me, is reminding myself that I am tough enough to, move forward and create something new that can help people, hopefully on a much bigger level than I am right now, because I'm just doing it regionally here locally. But it's growing, and it's been a lot of fun so far. And again, like I said earlier, I've got that plate. I had another company I co-founded during COVID that I've kind of stepped back from and let my business partner take over with that.
So that was
Uh,
what? That was the Pippin and Dippin?
yeah, pipping and
I'll bring
dipping.
that up. You can chat about that for a bit. So that, can you see it? Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see there's Hunter right there. Hunter, man, what a good dude. A lot like you. There aren't many people on this earth that I'd say that, I want to
Bit
hang
of the
out with.
crazy going on in his head.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And, we had a lot of fun building this. So, it's been
Yeah, it
about
looks like it.
two and
You
a half
guys,
year
you
journey.
guys have, I mean, there's a lot of views going on. You got 4,500 views.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are crushing it.
Yeah, we have some huge views. And, that was another thing. I mean, we were kind of playing around with the marketing because we both had other interests going at the same time. Really
Uh-huh.
what we built this for was him and I collectively had, lost quite a bit of money in the Forex market.
Right.
Being told like, oh, you don't need to know how to trade. The robots will do it for you. Well,
Right. Like
the
Chat
robots knew how to
GPT.
make money, taking our money. So we both kind of decided together we needed to learn. And so we
Mhm.
learned, went through a few courses together. They had good pieces to them. I mean, they weren't incredibly worthless, but they weren't what they said they would be. And then we finally got a mentor, both learned how to properly trade. And, after about a year of consistently trading after we'd found that mentor right around there, Hunter got really good at trading. I was pretty steady. Um, and I said, we need to do this so nobody else has to go through these losses because it's really common in Forex for people to lose a lot of money before they make a lot of money. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's because people get in the market, they don't really get a mentor, which kind of leads back to, all of this. Um, you got to have a mentor. You've got to have a group, that supports you,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's through a mastermind or a business coach, a life coach, whatever the case may be. And that's what we did. We found somebody specifically for the Forex market. He taught us his strategies, and then we kind of evolved them from there. We thought they were a little too in depth. We always found ourselves by the time we checked off all the rules, we had missed the trade or missed the entry. And so we in our infinite wisdom, we kind of modified his strategy, modified some other things we learned along the way. But most
Mm-hmm.
importantly, we learned risk management. And we wanted to share that with the world because far too many people lose too much money getting into the space when it can actually be very lucrative. But the reality at the end of the day, just like what I was just talking about, starting up Redzone Creative Consulting, is it's what's between your ears that will hold you back. The strategy is actually the easy part. So we started pipping and dipping. And Hunter and his wife, we were coming up with names, and I heard his wife Tesla say, "Oh, Pippin and Dippin" or something like that, and they went back and forth, and I'm like, I love that, you guys. Nobody will forget it. They won't know how to spell it, but they'll remember the name.
All right.
Um,
Oh,
and
it
Billy
is funny.
Nebraska.
It rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. So at any rate, he's I've kind of stepped away, and actually he's taken over, sole uh, responsibility is getting ready to launch some new things and some new trainings and offer, and why I'm all in on Redzone Creative Consulting. Uh, like I said, I had to step away. So the goal is to get back where I can be with students again. It was just a big commitment. We were trading every day with our students and
Uh-huh.
offering two live trainings a week. And unfortunately, it just didn't fit. My schedule was already to the brim. So I had to make a choice. And Hunter is a great leader. Like I said, he's from East Texas, got a great Southern draw. Young man. He was actually born the year I graduated from high school. So he'd make you feel really old.
Shut up. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's like, it's crazy. I don't feel that old, but it's like, yeah, it's
You
catching up.
don't, you look fantastic, man. This guy,
Thanks.
every time I see him, he looks better and better. Like he's
I am
Benjamin.
growing younger. Actually, I am because of my diet. I'm metabolically 58, not 65. My 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 birth certificate says I'd be 65, but I'm my cells are 58 because of the diet and stuff I do.
How far can you go backwards? Is there
I don't know. I don't know. It's like I went to my doctor and he told me, he did my blood work, my MD, and he said, "Wow, you're like the 30-year-olds that come in." He says, "I want to use you as a poster child for my old people." It's like, so it's fun. It's been well worth it. It's been a journey for me, but yeah, it's been well worth the learning curve and the experimentation and all that stuff that I've had to do. But now I'm teaching it. I actually have a group on Facebook that I'm doing, and we're
It's so fantastic.
teaching people, giving them the chance to try intermittent fasting, and then we're doing a 6-day water only fast at the end in July coming up. So
Ooh.
yeah, if you want to do it, man, let's do it. I lost 15 and a half pounds the last time I did it.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. It's funny. Hunter actually did one of those with a couple of students in our Pippin and Dippin Academy.
Mm-hmm.
And he started kind of hallucinating and started not feeling good. And I think you and I might have talked
Yeah,
about
you
this.
get the hypoglycemias about 2 to 3 days in. You get
Yeah.
it just turns you upside down. But what we're doing in our class is we've got 8 or 9 weeks now before we do our 6-day fast. So what you do is you get into an intermittent fasting with an eating window, and if you get that down to 6 to 8 hours a day, 6 to 8 hours, so you're fasting for 16 hours and you eat for 8.
Okay.
And then you give your body a chance, and then your body becomes multi-fuel. It's like metabolically flexible. So then you're able to transition. Your body then understands, okay, you're not feeding me sugar and carbs. What else do I eat? Well, it's ketones, right? It's fat. And so you got to train your body before you start doing the water fast otherwise you end up suffering for 3 days. But after
Well,
that 3 days, it just turns. It's like, boom, if you can survive the 3 to 4 days, it's amazing. Your body just gets calm and the hunger goes away and you have energy. And it's like, holy crap, I've got, it's absolutely stunning how that just happens. And
okay.
I've had it happen twice I've done 2 6-day fasts and it's happened to me twice. And it's incredible.
Wow.
So
Well,
anyway, different show.
yeah, a different show, but definitely the clarity, I mean, that you probably have coming out of that is, going through it, like you said, those first few days can
Yeah,
be a little challenging, but
they can be. I've got some hacks now too that help you get through it. So you don't get the hangries or the hypoglycemias.
you know what? I might have to take you up on that. That means I might have to stop eating my protein bars, aka Reese's peanut butter bars.
All right. Yeah. Well, those won't help you at all. But the
Man, they lied to me about that peanut butter stuff.
uh, the, there are some things that I've missed, but it's been worth it.
Good, good, good.
So let's see. You're an author now.
I am. So I've had this book on my mind for 100 years, and I haven't officially published it. It's just all self-published, but I finally put my thoughts on paper, and I keep adding to it
Hey, that's
here
okay.
and there. And
see, I'll bring it up. We can chat. Let's see. I should show everybody. So there's your book. Does your wheel of life need some air? I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that you bring that up. So I've always had my grandparent on and off in my childhood. I lived with my grandparents, my mom and I, when my parents first divorced, my mom was going through nursing school to help out. We would, there was a couple times where we lived with them, and then my mom got remarried, and, in between homes, we always ended up back at my grandparents as a kid. My grandparents were they were those people, they were always helping the family out. And anyways, they had a hill on their street. Like once you passed their house, it was a pretty good hill. Mm-hmm. And I remember all my friends were at the top of the hill. So it sucked riding up that hill on my bike. I didn't have one of those I didn't have a fancy bike with a bunch of gears or anything, or a fancy BMX bike. I had this heavy, like, Kmart bike that my parents, God bless them, they worked hard and provided it for me. And how dare I even make fun of it? But it was heavy. So pedaling up that hill always sucked, but I always knew in the back of my head I got to ride down that hill.
Uh-huh.
So the title of that book is twofold. One, um, I always had problems keeping air in my tire. And I think that's just something you do as a kid because you're always doing stupid stuff. But
Yeah.
um, so coming up with the title and coming up with just kind of the thought process is that when I would ride back down that hill, I could always tell like when my tires were a little lower because I didn't go as fast. The air wasn't blowing in my face as much. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel the sense of freedom that I did when my tire was whole. And
Okay. All right. I love the analogy. That's really
yeah.
good because it's just like it's visceral. You can feel it. I
Oh,
remember
totally.
that whole
And
thing too.
yeah, and so
And
you
pumping up the hill is a lot harder too because it just the
right,
wheels
you're
just
working.
don't.
Yeah.
You're
And
working really hard.
I need to add that part of the analogy in, but I haven't. But now that we're talking about that, and I was just thinking about it, I'm like, I gotta add that. So anyways, the wheel of life is if you take that feeling you had when you were a kid and you're riding your bike, it's the same
Hmm.
concept, but instead of your wheel being whole and your the balance being in place and all that good stuff in your life, I've basically created 4 quadrants. So your health, your relationships, your contribution, and your wealth. Yeah, so wealth and money. So you can see, and I kind of just broke it down through this story here, and
Hmm.
then gave a bunch of stories from my life, how I learned some of these lessons and principles, and then I
Hmm.
shared them through, like I teed up some things that you can work through on them as well, as far as getting healthy. Like you said, health could be as simple as joining Jim's fasting group, and getting prepared over the next 8 weeks while you get prepared for that July 1st 6-day fast.
Because
Um,
yeah, come as on the 10th, I
the
think
kind
you're
of
gonna.
thing.
Yeah.
Um, for me, I talk about, simple things like actually, if you just have the self-awareness to notice what you're putting in your mouth, whether it's what you're eating or drinking, and
Yeah.
you kept that on a notepad, you would be able to probably fix uh, about 90%, 85, 90% of your, health problems right away. Because most people just don't realize, like, they go through life, they get busy, they get stressed out, life happens. They drive through the drive-through. It becomes a conveyor belt of life, and almost with their eyes closed. So just raising your self-awareness and then having balance in all those areas of your life. And so that way the integrity of your wheel is in place, like it's whole. It's
Uh-huh.
it's 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 pumped up to its maximum capacity. So you're functioning in your life at your maximum capacity, living and creating your best life. That's kind of the 5-minute concept there behind this book. And it was
Very
something I
cool.
wanted to do for my kids. Um, so like I said, I haven't really put it out there, but we can definitely share it. You can share the link with people. Again, all I want it to do is if it helps one person, or a million people, it doesn't really matter to me as long as it's adding value into people's lives. And that's kind of like how I attempt to build my professional life and my personal life for that matter is, you know, through contribution, whether it's my expertise, my time, money, resources, whatever the case may be,
Hmm.
but also loving myself enough to, contribution isn't just about giving to others. It's the old airplane analogy, put your mask on first. You've got to have self-love for
Hmm.
yourself first. Like what you're doing, you couldn't ever go out and teach, how to fast for 6 days if you hadn't done it for yourself first, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's kind of, you know, where I'm at with the book, but ultimately I like to, uh, the next step will be coaching of some kind, getting to share these principles on a wider spectrum, maybe possibly a bigger platform, and, help men, husbands and fathers, basically me, people over 40, married with kids, self-employed, business owners, entrepreneurs, um, so that they can kind of power through those lulls in
Mm.
life.
One
And
of the things I've noticed about you that I really admire is that you've been able to balance your entrepreneurial with your family, and like, how does that feel? How do you do that? What is it that you're focused on when you're going through your days? Because like me, when I'm thinking about business, I'm like totally focused on business and I forget about it. And then I'm totally drained. This is where I used to be. I'm not like this anymore, but I used to be just, put 100%, 110% into my work. And then I get home and I'm completely drained and wiped out. And I got nothing left for my family. But you've been able to do both. How do you do that?
Well, it wasn't always that way. 2012-ish, our oldest, she was about 5 at the time. She crawled up on my lap and said, gave me a big hug and said, "Daddy, I love you and I miss you." And I thought,
Uh,
what do you, I looked at her like, what do you mean? Daddy's always home. And she goes, yeah, but when you're home, you're in your office.
mm,
She communicated that. And so I knew at that point I had uh, I had a problem, and it was going to be a big problem if I didn't fix it. And I didn't know how to fix it, but fortunately, I had a friend, much like you. Unfortunately, he's passed, but he introduced me to, a seminar that I went to, and it totally changed my life. It transformed my life, and it taught me about non-negotiables.
okay.
And my family is non-negotiable. When you and I were working together, Jim is not lying. This guy can sell anything, and not making you feel dirty, not like a used car salesperson, not a always be closing kind of guy, but sell it for all the right reasons. And when Jim and I worked together, that's what he did. He sold, and I was going through actually another trial at the time, with my parents being sick and taking care of them. And Jim was very patient with me. And at the same time, like he said, he was very singular focused about growing our business together, and he was crushing it, but we just couldn't keep up with the demand. And that wasn't because of Jim, that was me, because I just made a commitment that I was going to take care of my parents. It wasn't easy.
As it should have been. It's like
Yeah,
that's you did the right thing. Absolutely.
yeah. But I
Um,
mean, but it was a non-negotiable for me, but at the
mhm.
same time, it was a hard conversation for you and I to have, because we were just starting to like really hit the stratosphere and launch. Um, and it was like I was indirectly, pulling back the reins, not intentionally. Just it was just life got in the way, and
Yeah. But in the
priorities.
long run, everything works out, It's
Right,
like
right.
it's
And but I'm grateful, for how it all has worked out and the life lessons. And that's the other thing, is that um, right now I'm going through a lot with our kids being teenagers, and that's a whole new thing. Um, I'm the dumbest man on the planet. Um,
right. Yeah.
they're
You
the
become a
smartest people.
dinosaur. You become a fossil all of
Yeah,
a
yeah.
sudden. They get to be
Uh,
25 and they come to all of a sudden they come back one day and they from college or something and they say, "Wow, Dad, it's amazing how much you've learned in the last, you know, year that I didn't know you knew." Because all of a
yeah.
sudden they've got this experience of adulting now.
It's so funny that you say that, because so our oldest right now going through the recruiting process. She plays on a pretty high level soccer team here, or she did here in the Valley. Now she just joined a team out of San Diego. So big commitment.
Ah,
Better off.
congratulations.
Yeah, yeah, it's fantastic. It's going to be a great opportunity for her. And all of our kids are filthy athletic for that reason. They're
Yeah.
not like dad. They're they got their mom's athleticism, but uh, it's kind of funny talking about that, because she had a situation come up, experience come up just recently, and she went from being a starter to not only not playing, or not starting, but not playing.
Mm,
And um, there was a lack of communication from the coaches to her and from her to the coaches, that maybe would have clarified some of the stuff, but at the same time, it broke her for a minute.
mm, mm.
It was like one of her first big girl experiences.
Yeah.
And I watched my daughter brokenhearted, like ready to give up the sport that she absolutely adores and loves and is really good at. And ironically, about 10 days after this whole situation transpires, she gets an email from two colleges that she had sent out her highlight reels to, with one of them, the coach saying, I absolutely, that he really liked her composure on the field playing defense, and when she had her opportunity around the goal to score.
Hmm.
And she came to me and she's, like mindset completely 180 shift from I'm ready to give this game up to like,
Oh,
wow. Because we've been telling her for years, like she's worked everything she's gotten in soccer. She's earned it. Um, she started out and didn't really like the game when she was young and grew to love it by the time she was about 10. And from there, she's just never looked back. And there's other girls far more gifted than her, just naturally, but there's nobody that's going to outwork her. And so here it is. This coach validated her
cool.
from
So when you
from a
say coach,
university
go ahead.
from a university 10 days after she was ready to quit the game that she
Yeah.
loves. And here's this coach saying, not only do I like your composure, but I want you to come train with our team in the fall. And so she's, got some tentative plans to go and
Beautiful.
get to visit and see if this might be a potential landing spot for her. But I think that's how a lot of us are in our life, as a lot of
Yeah.
people tell us around, hey, like, we were just talking about this before. I always call Jim my 8-figure man. And it's a long story, so I won't go into it. But if you want to hear the story, well, you're just going to have to ask Jim or me. But Jim's, like I said, an exceptional human being. And as a professional, I always called him the 8-figure man. And I meant that wholeheartedly. I tell stories about him all the time. He's like Paul Bunyan in my life. People are like, wow, that's so cool. Great story. Anyways, I could tell Jim that until I'm blue in the face. But until he decides that he's going to believe that he's that guy, you know, that's the thing. And the ironic thing is that's the same thing my daughter just went through at 16 years old. Yet we do this our whole adult lives. And so when we can finally get out of the way and accept the reality instead of the stories and the virtual reality we've created in our heads about
Hmm.
who we are, what we're capable of, you know, we'll
So
be exactly what
important.
we want to be. Yeah.
But it's cool that that aspect um, came through about her composure, being able to keep her composure in the highlight reels. Um, that's something that you do you train for that? You don't train for that. How does she get that? And that's a valuable skill. I mean,
You know,
it's like being calm. I remember Kobe Bryant would say, that was one of his biggest challenges was to stay calm and in the heat of the moment when you're, down to the wire and you're, 2 points away from, you got to score the final run. You got to, the crowd's going crazy and you got all this noise around you and everything's going crazy, but you just got to stay calm and in the pocket and in the flow. And how do you get there?
that's a good question. I mean, I think for my best recommendation, my 2 cents, for her, and for me and my life experience, but for her, it's been just the training. And then because the reality is like she's always struggled with what's between her ears because she's very analytical and
Hmm.
she overthinks, instead of just letting nature happen.
Hmm.
Um, and uh, you know, so she gets in her own way. And I think that's the same for me. She's a lot like me. I remember playing football. I hated getting yelled at. So I would always do my very best to do it the right way from the get-go. I
Hmm.
always came into training camp prepared. I had worked all summer. I ran twice a day. There was one time my freshman year that I puked during training camp, and I said, I never want to feel that way again. I learned that lesson. Um, and so I think composure really comes down to just, you have to be aware, but at the same time, you have to have that, let your natural instinct just take place and trust your instinct.
Mm.
Um, so in that
That's
moment,
true in business too. I mean, it's
oh, totally, totally.
totally true. Or any leadership position, anything you're doing that requires any type of, in the moment decisions that are stressful, potentially really stressful.
Yeah. Well, Henry Ford, he's like, he goes, I'm not the smartest man in the world, but what he have like 8 phones in front of him, and he could pick up any one of those 8 phones and ask his question and get an answer.
Right.
He was smart enough to know that he wasn't smart enough.
Exactly. And that's pretty smart.
And I think that's composure, is like taking the brain part out of it, because your brain's always functioning, obviously. Your subconscious is. But to train hard enough and long enough that it becomes habitual and nature takes over, and you just, you don't panic. But can it be learned?
Discipline to daily do the things that, that you are easier not to do, but you do them anyway.
And that's her. I mean, so I'm using her a lot, and don't get me wrong, our other 2 kids are fantastically gifted too. I can't wait to see what they create for themselves at 16. But I have her for now, so she's like my model. But she's done all of this recruiting. She took all of my blueprint and did it all on her own. She did her own highlight reel. She did all that stuff. Last weekend, she just started working at a grocery store that my wife manages, or is a manager at, and she's working part-time. She knew she was going to be up early, so she got up at 4:30 in the morning on a Saturday and went out and trained for an hour in the backyard, and was doing, speed and agility drills and all these things. That's, I think, how composure gets built, is like, you've got to want it.
That's the ticket right there.
Yeah.
Train when nobody's watching. It's in the dark. Nobody's watching you, but you're doing it anyway.
Yeah. But she's that kid. I don't think our other 2 kids will do it that way. They'll do it totally different. And that's what's fantastic about this whole thing we call life. Everybody, there's an exercise that I got to experience a while back, and I've done it in some of the coaching opportunities I've had in bigger groups. And it was an opportunity where in life, we're only, we're limited by what we can think up. Right. And so the experience was to stand on one side of the room, stand on and then you had to cross the room in some fashion. It could be walking, but you could not copy the person in front of you or anybody that had gone before you.
Yeah.
And really, at the end of the day, it becomes all about intention versus the mechanism. And the intention is all that matters. The mechanism, the way that you do it, the way you go about it, the way you get to the finish line, it has no determining factor on the outcome if you have 100% intention.
So give me an example of that. What does that look like?
So for me, getting very clear on my business, like Redzone Creative Consulting, and just when I feel like it's not going as fast as it should be, instead of it letting me, pulling me down, I have 100% intention. I'm still moving forward. I'm learning as I'm flying the plane, kind of thing.
How do you stay in the zone, in the flow for that on a daily basis?
Focus on the gains. Focus on the gains and not the gaps. The gap versus gain, I apologize to the doctor that invented the concept. There's a book out there, and that's the simple part of life, is that a lot of people focus on the gaps, all the things they don't have in their life, whether it's money, whether it's health, relationships, all that stuff. They focus on that, and that's exactly what they create in their life, instead of focusing on what they have accomplished in the last 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 months, 5 years, kind of thing. And being grateful for those things. So
yeah, boy, I tell you what, that's being grateful and finding the joy every day. It's not easy, but boy, I tell you what, that's turned me around. When we were working together, I remember we were talking about, well, put the hammer away. It's like constantly beating myself up for not doing something right, and it's like, stop that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Because
can't,
there's no right
it's
or
not
wrong way.
sustainable. You're going to end
Yeah.
up physically, my body basically filed divorce papers on me. That's what's my hidden secret, because, going through all this change in my diet, my body basically said, I'm done with you, dude. You're either going to make some changes or I'm out of here. So I learned that at that moment, who's in charge, and
Yeah.
decided to stop abusing my body and forcing it to do what my bidding, and started learning about, well, okay, well, let's work together on this. So I
Yeah.
learned a lot about how that works, and I'm thriving now.
Yeah.
But
Well, just think, like you said, when your health was out of, I can, if somebody is not where they want to be in their life, in some area of their life, whether it be their health, their relationship, the contribution in
mhm,
their life, or their wealth, I can, without hesitation, after talking to them for 5 minutes, I can figure out, asking a few questions, where they're out of integrity in that wheel. And
mhm,
that's what's causing the problems in the other areas for them not to be, and when I first went through this, something similar, they had like 10 different things in the wheel. Excuse
yeah,
me. And I'm always the simplify guy. So instead of doing that, I, broke it down to 4. Just keep it simple.
okay.
Right.
So yeah, that's what we brought up
Yeah.
on your book, right?
Yeah. And so, just like you said, I mean, you had a relationship thing going on that was creating havoc in other areas of your life, your health, you know, your energy,
Yep. Everything
your
was
wealth building.
out of
Like,
whack.
yeah, everything was like, it wasn't whole. It wasn't, you were going down the hill like, da-dum, 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 instead of like, hands free with your,
Yeah,
I'm imagining
the
you back in
wind
the 70s
blowing
with
and
the wind blowing through your
woohoo!
hair.
Which is, yeah,
Uh,
there's a lot of joy in that. I
but
wasn't experiencing joy.
Right, right. And, I'll have to be honest, these last few years coming out of COVID, they have not been easy. They have
Mm.
definitely not been easy. My wife and I, we just celebrated our 19 years together on Monday.
Ah,
It was,
congratulations.
yeah, thank you. And, those 19 years have come with a lot of amazing memories and a lot of, bad and ugly.
Mm.
Uh, and the one thing is that, you know, my wife, God bless her, is just like, we'll figure it out. You know, I mean,
Cool.
she tells me that all the time. Like, when we don't know, and I get stressed out and kind of become the duck on a pond, but instead of my feet being underwater, my feet are above me, like dancing around and I'm drowning. Uh, she pulls me right side up and says, don't worry, we'll figure it out.
All right.
Uh, And that kind of goes back to what I said earlier. You got to have a tribe, whether it's your wife, a significant other, a coach, and the more you have, the better you're going to be. And the more people you share with what you're working towards in your life, the more people you're going to have supporting you going in that direction, like you did for this, you brought up all these beautiful things that I've worked on or been working on, and are sharing them with your tribe, which is fantastic. And I'm grateful for. But if you don't tell people, it's kind of like what I said earlier about the recruiting for kids out of high school. You
Yep.
don't tell somebody, you'll never be on their radar. It's not that you're not good enough or worthy or you don't have any value to add. It's that you didn't use your mouth, you didn't use your resources. It's real simple. Life's easy. We're the ones that make it hard.
Yeah.
uh,
Oh yeah. Well, it's,
you know,
yeah, making it fun, and being grateful for it, and appreciation. Those are all critical, um,
yeah,
to feel and to experience and to spread. Proactively spread the joy. It's in the community. It's like I'm doing 5 things right now. You have 4 things, and they're very similar. My 5 things are similar. So, but having that balance now is just really brought things together for me, and it's made my life a lot easier. I can make decisions if something comes in that I'm not, it makes it easier to say no. But if it's yes, it's like, yeah, I embrace it and I bring it in and I'm amplify it. and I try to do my best to make it beautiful
Yeah.
and to share it. So it's like community, it's diet, it's meditation, it's sleep, getting 8 hours of sleep, protecting my body again, giving it the chance to recover, and then um, doing this community service. This podcast is my community service now, because I'm focusing it on people in Temecula, leaders, inspiring leaders in Temecula, and so and it's just bringing that simple scope and having the discipline every day to do those things is really what's making a difference in my life now. And it's been a lot more fun. So it's
I,
and having it's basically the same thing you're doing. So it's just awesome.
yeah. Well, and I see it. I mean, I see it in you. We talked about it a little bit before we started our recording today, but I see it in you. I see the lightness in you, like the happiness, the joy in your life. I see, you just shared your youngest shared nuptials, I think, with we were talking about, and then your grandfather, and sharing those things. Not only does it bring joy to you to share those, but it actually brings joy to me when I haven't been able to have a conversation with you recently, but you share something like that. It feels like I still have my finger on the pulse, if you will.
Yeah.
So your joy is my joy. So,
Yeah. It's
and,
cool.
but most people don't look at it that way, because of the world we live in right now. Unfortunately, it's a lot,
Mm,
although it's actually harder to be mean. People think it's actually easier to be mean. Um, when actually the reality is it's easier to be, kind to one another.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, and I don't know. I have no energy for being mean. It's just life is too short.
yeah. Well, you're 58. I mean, you only got like another 58 and a half years to
Right.
go.
Yeah. Right. I'm going
Uh,
backwards.
I love it. I love that. I do need to take a look at that. I've kind of let myself, I've always struggled with my weight playing football. And so I definitely
Mm.
am going to look at your joining your group. I've seen it. I just haven't taken the time to go and join it and be a participant in it.
Okay.
Um,
I'd love to
so
have you.
yeah,
It's fun. It's really easy. So
well,
uh so
I,
we this time just goes so quick. It's like
I,
lightning. I do you have time for one more question?
of course, always
Awesome.
for you.
So I asked this of everybody on the show. It's basically taking a look at your whole life and looking back on the decisions that you made. What was the boldest leadership decision that you've made, and what were the consequences?
It's probably pretty easy. The first thing that popped in my head right now is just my wife. My wife. Um, I I don't know that I would have um, started my first business without her. I don't
Mhm.
know that I'd be where I'm at today without her. Um, I just made a choice. That was a big choice. For us to. I married a woman that said she never wanted to be married and never wanted to have kids, and along the way, she not only blessed me becoming my wife, but has birthed three amazing children.
Mm.
Um, and I mean, I think that's the boldest decision because at the time when I met her, um, she wasn't single and I was actually engaged to another person. So the boldness was, you know, coming out of a relationship that I thought, you know, was my future, really wasn't. But at the end of the day, trusting my instinct. And there were some things in life, I was in the car accident in 2003,
Mhm.
and Elis and I had just started really getting serious, and she didn't leave my bedside at the hospital for 17 days. So
Wow.
10 days the first uh, hospital stay, and then 7 the next surgery 6 months later. Um, she never left my side.
Mm.
She slept in those uncomfortable things. So
Mhm.
as far as bold for me, that my family, I guess it wasn't really bold, but at the same time it's probably the biggest decision I've ever made in my life. um the business stuff has been easy, especially when I got out of my own way. Started like listening to other people instead of thinking I knew everything. Uh,
Hmm.
or even just being humble enough, setting my pride aside before I had done the personal development work and setting my ego aside and asking for help. And that's why I think that my wife, she was the very first thing that I put aside my ego, because she actually had been dating a friend, you know. I put aside all of that because I knew the greater good was if she said yes, I was going to be the luckiest man on this earth, you know. And like I said, we've had our challenges, that is for sure. And it's been more me than her for sure. She's had to raise 4 kids, not 3. But that would probably be the boldest thing that decision I've ever made in my life. I know you said professionally, but the reality is I wouldn't be who I am today without her. So
Uh, it's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. It's really,
yeah,
really wonderful.
yeah, yeah. Then, well, thank you for asking. Because right away, as soon as you said it, I was doing my best to listen in the third person and just not have any thoughts and just listen to what you're saying. But the little green man on my shoulder, like, Elissa, Elissa, Elissa. And then my gut started churning too. So I knew my head and my gut were aligned. There was no other thoughts that came through when you asked that question. So
Very cool.
yeah, yeah, no, Jim, this has been amazing. Uh, whether you know it or not, like I said, this is, reminding me of a lot of things that I need to keep working towards and keep, uh, adding value, not just to myself, but to others around me. And so, and that I have the capacity to do it in a bigger way. So thank you for that.
Well, absolutely. Love it. And looking forward to seeing what you come up with.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I need to get in that fasting group and so I can get my Speedo body going before the end of summer
All
so I
right.
can embarrass my kids.
Let's do it. Yeah. Get the highlight reel for Joe up there.
Yeah, the before and afters would be probably huge on me.
Uh,
I've gotten back up to like 260. I've got, from football, I've just got a lot of these injuries that have, after 45, they all started really coming to a
yep.
head.
Hmm.
And I was actually pretty active and exercising in great shape. And then, when you hurt, sometimes it's hard to press forward. Like you and I have had the conversation before. So uh, you already teed it up for me. I just got to take the swing and go and do it. So thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Love it. Well, thank you for joining me today. It was really fun. I appreciate your time and
Yeah.
look forward to spreading the word about what you're doing here in the local area and around the world. This goes everywhere. I've got people all over the world now, so it's fun.
Awesome. Awesome. I would expect nothing less from you.
Well,
So,
we'll see you again soon, Joe. Thanks a
all
lot.
right, Jim. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you having me on. Take care.
My pleasure. See ya.